Hello, good morning. Today is Friday the 26th of June. I felt it necessary to come and do the reading from our local neighborhood park today because there's something very important that I need to speak to you about today. Some messages that are coming through from Spirit about trust, and maybe significant that I find myself on a swing when all that we trust is in the balance, and we find ourselves toying, ruminating on these thoughts playing in our minds. And I think a lot of what we mistrust, we have carried as a bit of a burden, even from childhood. I know that my own experiences in my youth had a massive consequence in the way that I approached relationships in my teenage years, into my 20s and so on, until I had a better foundation through, again, my own experiences, learning to trust myself. And at some point I started to make more decisions based on my intuition and my relationship with God, Source and Spirit, and how I was able to discern right from wrong. And I think if our foundations have been rocky, if we have had distorted or destructive relationships and trauma in childhood, we are already carrying that trait, that very unfortunate trait, where we feel like we cannot trust others. And that's really unfair on the others. It's really unfair on the ones that come into our lives in honesty, with open hearts and with truth, for us to then project our own mistrust back onto them. At a time when I was going through these initial transformations, when I was doing my 200-hour yoga teacher training and I did start serving, I had to look at all of those burdens and traumas that I was carrying. And I needed to take some responsibility for the choices that I had made in my life. And that's really where the repair work starts. It's what have I been responsible for? And in some senses, there's a lot of self-sabotage. The self-sabotage of ruminating, limiting belief systems, of karmic relationships that keep wanting to hook us into a past timeline or a low vibrational frequency, whether it's family members or friends projecting their truth onto us, perhaps a little bit of temptation and addiction. We lose this sense of self, and self-love withers. And we stop trusting what we know is right within. We stop relying on our intuition. So we can't really trust anyone if we can't trust ourselves first to make that right decision. And it requires a level of acceptance and forgiveness of the self. I always wondered when I was taking responsibility in those circumstances, Yeah, self-analysis. What I was carrying from my childhood. Why I felt shame. In hindsight, yes, only after we've had these experiences which can push us to our limits and help us to see different aspects of ourselves. Only when we are triggered in relationships and these things are mirrored back to ourselves, only then do we get that gift of recognizing ourselves. If we can find that person that can do that for us, perhaps that needs to be valued. Perhaps you could trust that kind of person that could mirror these traits back to you and still help you through a healing process afterwards. Isn't that what the divine masculine and feminine could do for one another? There's a beautiful crow standing on the railing to my left. There's a squirrel jumping around in front of me. And Daisy's right here next to me. She's looking at the squirrel thinking, do I chase or not? Yeah, nature can teach us some interesting dynamics about trust as well. We can continue to go through our lives thinking that we have everything we need, all the right tools at any point in time. But there is also God's way and there is man's way. And by me doing things God's way has for some obscure reason caused unfair projections. And I shouldn't be in this attitude of still being able to trust after the things that have been done to me. But I can take responsibility for stepping out in faith, for knowing that I'm protected by God and that the decisions that I've made have been for God, source and spirit, for my highest good always. Not for the paper trail or the accolades or the validation. And I trust myself. And I trust that the people that I come into contact with, whether they're there to hurt me or not, part of this experience at this time and this lesson, and when we have to let go, we will let go. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making a little bit of sense to you. Let's read today's reading. Knowing these paths, O Arjuna, no yogi is deluded. Therefore, at all times be steadfast in yoga. Whatever fruit of merit is declared to accrue from the Veda, sacrifices, austerities, and gifts, the yogi goes beyond all this, having known this, and he attains to the supreme, primeval abode. What man who has clearly understood this continual birth, death, rebirth, recycle, sorry. What man who has clearly understood this continual birth, death, rebirth cycle, and the endless miseries that it brings with it, could be foolish and blind enough to cling to this earthly life or value it? Yes. Are we being foolish with our earthly embodiment? A bee has just landed on the phone, on the camera. Is that a sign? Because, yes, we are supposed to be embodied in this vessel. But I believe that if we are awakened and self-realized, we don't need to be foolish and mistrustful, even when the struggle gets so bad. We can always trust God. God and love as in this cosmic creation, the omnipresence of everything, and our connectedness to each other and everything, and all is one in this body. If God is with us, if Spirit is within us, we can trust. Think of the millions of years that you have eaten, drunk, and slept, enjoyed sensual pleasures, and suffered the consequent misery. Should you still wallow in delusion? Think of the thousands of births you have had and the thousands of parents, wives, husbands, and children that you have had in those births, if you believe in past lives. Should you still wallow in delusion then? Repeating cycles? Or is it for us to see the magnitude and the magnificence of the expansive self and all the positive actions we can do to influence humanity and create that ripple effect where it's needed the most for others? Because once we are right in ourselves, once we shine that light outwards, once we trust and can put one foot steadily in front of the other, amen, then we are of benefit to the world. Think of the desires gratified and thus strengthened, the ambitions fulfilled, the houses built, money made, and property acquired, and think of how all these have been razed to the earth by the ravages of time. The millions of millennia that this universe has existed, should you still wallow in delusion? Think of the insignificance of a short span of 50 years of active life in comparison to the millions of years that constitute a day of the Creator. What can you do during this short span that can compare to self-realization, which can liberate you from transmigration forever? Should you still wallow in delusion? Think of the insignificance of this lifespan and rejoice that its pleasures and even its pains do not last a split second. Even this will pass away. Balance your mind in pain and joy, said our Master. Yes, I've often found myself laughing and crying at the same time. That's when it hits. Do not wallow in delusion, but seek to attain the supreme abode in every moment in this sacred body, in this vessel, in this castle. This is your abode. This is what you trust. I appreciate all my subscribers that are here. I believe that we have an opportunity to create an incredible frequency from love and authenticity by sharing, by connecting. If you like these messages, please give me a thumbs up. I know that YouTube likes that for the algorithm, and it'll give me the confidence that I need to keep coming back here daily to channel these messages from Spirit for you. We are all deserving to know the truth and be able to apply that on our highest timeline. The best version of ourselves deserves to have a relationship with us. You can still love the shadow. You can observe the fear and the shame and the guilt. But because you trust and you love yourself now, every time that comes up, it'll be easier to handle. Every time it comes up, you can release it back with love to God. That's where forgiving the self is so important. It might feel like a foreign thing to so many people. Why do I have to forgive myself? Well, because we are living in a world and a life that was not created for us. What does it mean to do things God's way? With the agape love, foresight. So, I'm praying for new eyes, your heart and your mind, new ears to hear with, a new voice to speak words of truth, peace, love and light, to become a warrior for God, and to do everything with purpose, knowing that you have the potential. Feel that fire, that excitement in the belly. Be like a child. Try and be naive. Try and filter out all the rubbish. Let go of everything that does not serve you with every breath. Every exhale, let go. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a beautiful day. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Namaste. God bless you.